We've got Saritta Hines. She's from Trustabit. She's going to be talking about smart contracts for the airline travel industry.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Saritta Hines, and I'm the founder and CEO of Trustabit, and our goal is to mobilize the traveling consumer. So this is how it all began. My daughter and I, last summer, we built this Ethereum mining rig, and it was a great project, but after a while, the rig just sat in a corner, most of you know, just putting out all this heat and making my electricity bill $600 a month. So it had to go. So following that project, I became more interested in the underlying technology of Ethereum, which was blockchain. So I became obsessed with finding practical applications for the technology. We didn't know it then, but that was pretty much the beginning of Trustabit. Now, travel is a $1 trillion industry, yet it's also one of the most antiquated and archaic. So when the idea came of using blockchain to, you guys getting this feedback? Maybe if I move it away a little further. All right, that works. So as I was saying, travel is a $1 trillion a year industry, and yet it's also one of the most antiquated and archaic. So the idea of using blockchain to automate the flight delay compensation process came about. I definitely knew I was onto something. There's several inefficiencies in the way customer service and loyalty programs operate. Passengers affected by IROPS or flight delays or being overbooked have the burden of calling the customer service center, filling out a form, holding the line for what seems like hours, and then only to wait days, weeks, or sometimes months just to receive a $50 voucher, if you're lucky. What's more, many airlines still use paper vouchers, which is not connected to the vendor's IT systems. This means that employees must physically transfer to paper vouchers for accounting and reconciliation. This process is extremely inefficient, outdated, and leads to accounting issues later on. So fraud is also a major issue for airlines. We'll get more into that a little later. But the bottom line, there is no transparency in the voucher redemption process, which leaves travelers feeling helpless and frustrated. So we created a solution. Trustabit uses smart contracts to automatically issue digital vouchers to passengers when flights are delayed or canceled. This reduces processing time to almost immediate payouts, reduces costs, there's no paperwork involved. And unlike call centers at large airlines, our smart contracts don't need to be paid or housed in skyscrapers. The process is seamless and secure, reducing frustration in the travel ecosystem. As a further benefit to passengers, the digital vouchers can be redeemed in industries beyond air travel. For example, travelers to Tokyo for the Olympic Games are able to use digital vouchers via their smartphones to purchase goods at the event without having to use fiat. Does anyone here from the Olympic Committee? Let's talk afterwards. The Trustabit traveler has digital access to key services that make it easier and less painful to adjust travel plans when things go awry, because they always do. Our goal is to mobilize the traveling consumer using emerging technologies. Trustabit is built on Hyperledger Fabric, which is a permission blockchain, and smart contracts code the rules for using a voucher. Traditional contracts are archaic and carry cryptic rules that don't work in the age of the digital nomad. There's no rhyme or reason behind the way one traveler may receive a $250 voucher and another passenger will receive a $50 voucher for the same flight. With smart contracts, we can ensure transparency and consistency. An airline, for example, may opt to execute a voucher when a flight is delayed more than 45 minutes at a price that's directly related to the amount paid for that ticket. We can also track vouchers in real time and create custom reporting dashboards that show which vouchers have been redeemed, those that are outstanding, and other desired metrics. So let's look at the demo. Now, I've been learning blockchain for like a couple months, but I've always wanted to know, what does it actually look like on the blockchain? So if you have your computer or your smartphone, just go to app.trustabit.io, and I'll show you what it looks like. What it looks like. Of course, this will be white labeled, but you just come in and tap app.trustabit.io. As a user, you would fill in your information. It's not my real email address if you want to come contact me. We'll see that we need to come in and enter a ticket number, so we'll just give a random ticket number, and we'll hit go. So now I'll see that my flight was delayed from Abu Dhabi to Montreal. It was delayed for 2 hours for weather. So what do we want? Do we want the voucher or do we want the miles? First one. Miles. Let's get the miles. 250 miles. So now I went ahead and claimed that, and what happens is all of this is writing to the blockchain. And now I see in my wallet my whole history, because my flights get delayed all the time. So I see everything that I have. Now, how does this actually look on the blockchain on the admin's perspective? So we can go to Blockchain Explorer. There we go. So we're connecting to our Hyperledger channel, loading the blocks, and this is what it would look like on the admin section. So now I can see how many transactions, 32 transactions were processed, how many chain codes I have. Chain codes is the same thing as smart contracts, and how many nodes I'm running. So now I can see all of the information that was happening. Now if I want to go look at the transaction that we just processed, so now I see that this is the transaction that I just processed. If I want to look at that transaction ID, it'll open up details about that. So now we can see actually how things are written on the blockchain instead of everybody just saying it's immutable. So if I scroll down and see what actually was written, I can see all this information from the third to bottom line. There's the miles that I have in my wallet. Here's my voucher balance, and I see everything else that was actually written. So this information wouldn't be available to the user. It's more for an admin tool for the airlines, so they can see exactly what's going on in the network. And then we also can create reports from this and pretty much sell it back to them and say, hey, here's how your users are using your miles, here's how they're using your vouchers. And then I can go back to my presentation. You guys can go around, play ahead around here and see what you see. Like I said, the chain codes are smart contracts. You can see the different channels. For those of you that are familiar with Hyperledger Fabric, you know that you can create certain channels where only 2 participants can actually see the data that's being written to the chain. So we're building a solution that we focus on solving a number of key pain points in the travel industry, addressing concerns about the traveler and the airline as well. Travelers are not only increasingly unimpressed with traditional vouchers, the redemption process also leaves them more frustrated. They hate filling out complex claim forms, holding the line, waiting for an agent, just to get compensation for their flight. All of these issues have a negative impact on brand loyalty. Airlines also face high admin costs and increased instances of fraud to the tune of $838 million a year, according to IATA. Ultimately, travelers want options and flexibility, and airlines simply do not offer this for the average consumer. Our digital vouchers offer value, convenience, and execute transactions remotely without direct interaction with agents. So we started with flight delays, and soon realized that the TAB protocol could be easily adapted to the insurance sector, especially with parametric insurance. We're looking for strategic partners in the insurtech industry where our partners can retain ownership of the end customer while we help improve the user experience and help to define the customer-centric approach. Insurtech is already having an impact on these insurance landscapes in its infancy. Imagine the possibilities once it becomes a toddler or even a preteen. Insurance companies, they also have one of the highest rankings for poor customer service because of complex questionnaires, manual process and maintenance for physical receipts. And customers are beginning to expect digital transactions. They value convenience and prefer to execute transactions remotely without interaction with the company. Fragmented data sources also make it hard for insurance companies to provide lead gen and data analytics. Because the smart contracts are triggered by events like wind speed and flood levels, This will speed up the claim settlement time with little to no human intervention. Flight delay insurance, parametric insurance, crop insurance are just a few applications for new insurance models based on blockchain technology. A Trustabit insurance partnership could create a new era of insurance offerings from home insurance to flight delay insurance. Our goal is not to disrupt traditional insurance companies, but to simply enable the value chain. Now I'm sure you're wondering, well, why would an insurance company want to work with us? Can't they just do it themselves? See, I see two options to this solution. They can be inspired by what we're doing and decide to build it in-house, or two, they can just buy us out. Now, there is some gray area where they could start an innovation lab or a corporate venture program. There's also no catch-all solution. It must depend on specific context, the company's goals, and whatever pain point they're targeting. So the steps involved in the TAB solution starts with the customer buying their flight from the airline or a third-party vendor. The customer details are written to the blockchain as we saw and stored in the smart contracts. Once the triggering event of a delayed flight or overbooking happens, the smart contract is automatically processed and the user is sent notification to claim vouchers or their miles. If the user selects miles, they'll be stored in their mileage wallet. But if they decide to select vouchers, then the voucher is converted to credits with one of our online travel agency partners. Here's another similar story. With flight insurance, the user will enter their flight details, they'll choose a policy, submit their identification, enter their payment details in either crypto or fiat, and then once the flight is delayed, the user's policy is paid out. So it makes sense that parametric insurance is our logical next step. The users would purchase an insurance policy and the details of that policy are written to the smart contracts. Once the triggering event is received, the customer is paid out their policy automatically without the need for claim adjusters to come and survey the area. This allows the policyholder to receive compensation immediately and allow them to focus on their rebuilding efforts. Now let's see how we make money. Our business model is threefold. We charge a transaction fee for each voucher that's processed on our network. Another way we monetize is through our TAB token. We plan to list our token on exchanges like Blockbid, Binance, hopefully Coinbase. This adds value to Trustabit and gives liquidity to the TAB token holders. We also generate revenue through partnerships. We recently partnered with a company called Flexiroam, which offers an easy-to-install microchip that can bypass your cell phone carrier's data restrictions. So you can avoid those astronomical roaming fees while you're traveling internationally. Currently, TAB holders can purchase their 1 gigabyte microchip pack using our tokens. We found that our total addressable market is at $4.2 trillion a year, and this encompasses input from flight delay vouchers, the global insurance market, as well as the travel insurance market, and not the consumers. There are companies like Trustabit, but none match our solution. Current customer rights companies function as agents, facilitating a back and forth conversation and charging fees of up to 25% that's passed down to the user just to process their claim. This process is still done manually, which leaves room for human error and further delays. Now let's meet the minds behind this project. Trustabit was built with transparency at its core and innovation top of mind. Our goal is not to disrupt industries, but to reimagine, improve, and rebuild them. Our focus is on the customer first and foremost. We use our technology to streamline difficult and stressful processes to make their lives easier. We're technologists, blockchain enthusiasts, thought leaders, world travelers, and industry professionals. We're a global company and our team is diverse and multinational. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.